Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Mamun by Contrastic. This feels so weird because it's been 20 years since Contrastic did their debut full-length album back in 2000, and technically there was more in between. They were part in a 6 split, and also they had an EP in 2014 called Jarmo, and with this album that we get 6 years later we kind of get some of the same approaches. It's not just apparent with a similar album artwork, but with Jarmo we got some more electrified passages in some occasions, and it would go more into the technical death metal stuff instead of the furious death grind sound of the first album. Not like their self-titled debut had no technicality, but in multiple occasions it was definitely much more furious. But a good way to describe Contrastic is that it's basically this Czech band that has technical elements you would definitely enjoy if you are a fan of bands like Discord and Success, but with Contrastic it's way more messy and way more chaotic as we get multiple elements of electronics, and with a self-titled debut we also had cowbells, the most important part in a technical death grind project. Unfortunately with Mamun we don't get the cowbells, so this automatically makes it a 0 out of 10. But no, honestly I think what's really interesting about Mamun is that it might not be as aggressive and as intense as their debut from 20 years ago, but I still find that the elements of technicality over here are quite impressive, and I think that it's even more rich in terms of sounds and approaches. I like the variation on this thing and how it goes into multiple directions, multiple different sounds, multiple genre shifts. It's also combined with a fantastic use of sampling in some occasions. A great example is the first track, Márách, which has those great vocal samples that feel like they're taken from a 40s song played in a gramophone, and the way it's fused with all of the other elements in this track just feels spectacular. All of the electronics, the production, the whole sound. It is such a spectacular and very special track that kicks things off nicely. We also have the track Oni, which in my opinion has a really clever approach of how the vocal samples are manipulated. Other than that, what we're basically talking about is a pretty short album. It's only 9 tracks and goes for 25 minutes, and I personally find impressive how much material and how many different approaches we get in just those 25 minutes. This thing is extremely varied, and most of the sounds over here feel so well put together. They definitely manage to enhance the experience and also make for some pretty nice melodic stuff, because even if we're mostly talking about the technical album over here, the great thing is that it does not simply focus in its technicality. It has lots of simple and effective moments, which in my opinion add so much to the song and just make for some pretty memorable stuff that manage to be great highlights. So it doesn't take away from the fact that this album is technically impressive, but it also doesn't want you to focus on just that, because there is much more to this project. And I like how almost every track over here has its own style, with the track Tarvas Maniacus, for example, being a really messy, chaotic, but also very well placed and put together song. It's with some of the more simplistic moments where you don't see that much of those weird electronic approaches or sampling, where I feel that the album has a few lackluster moments, like with the track Mentální, výtok, for example. I think it has some interesting moments, this track in particular. I like this segment with this smooth bass part. There are also some nice piano fusions towards the end of the song. But there's also the track National Razor, which in comparison with most of the tracks over here, it feels slightly lackluster. I would like a bit more out of this track, just being fused with so many more just outlandish elements and just make it somewhat more special. Melodically, this album in my opinion takes the cake with the tracks 4 and 5. It is this amazing balance of messy technical elements but with great memorable melodies and just really nice fusions of electronics, and it's an extremely well done result, especially with those two tracks in particular. There's finally the longest track over here, which is the final track Homo Hersi, which for almost 1.5 minutes it starts with this really interesting beat that gets more and more distorted as the song progresses, and we also have some weird vocoded passages with the vocals. And even if I like most of the elements of the electronics over here and how just messy and bizarre it is, I feel that when it comes to the metal portions it's possibly one of the weakest tracks over here. I still though enjoy the experience. So what I really appreciate about this new Contrastic album is all of those different fusions of sound that makes it a really bizarre but also extremely cohesive experience, which makes it hard to just put in one category and just simply define what this thing is stylistically. And it's impressive how in just 25 minutes this manages to be one of the most varied albums I've heard all year, and this is also definitely one of my favorite metal projects of this year. I'm going to give Mamun an 8- out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.